Okay, good morning, wonderful students, and happy Friday. Clearly, I am out today, but I have a video for you that will kind of go through everything that you need to know for the day. So go ahead, take a minute, take out your warm up, and answer the warm up question. Go ahead and summarize my boyfriend Hans's point from the video yesterday. Go ahead and pause. All right, so our plan for the day, the objective is to analyze patterns of composition, age, sex, race, and ethnicity. We're going to take a look at population pyramids. So on the agenda, I have some quick notes that I'm going to go through with you guys. Then I have a video clip for you, and then a short activity that you're going to be working on with a partner. Homework reminders, Chapter 2, Key Issue 3 is due for Monday. Map activity number 4 is due for Monday as well. And then don't forget that your Chapter 2 test is scheduled for next Friday, so a week from today. And then your population, just the population terms on your vocab list, I'm going to check those in next Friday as well. So let's go ahead and get started. So go ahead and put your handout that you grabbed when you walked in the door today in front of you. We're going to take some quick notes just on the top. These questions here go along with your activity that is on the back of your handout. All right, so population pyramids. Population pyramids show us population structure. So fertility and mortality rates vary not only spatially but also temporarily within a country. So we can see this really easily and visually using a special bar graph known as a population pyramid. So population pyramids visually display a country's distinctive population structure. And I'm going to show you what this looks like, but on your x-axis, you're going to see the percent of males in the population displayed to the left of 0, and then you're going to see the percent of females displayed to the right of 0. And then on your y-axis, right, or your up and down axis, you're going to see age cohorts that are typically grouped in 5-year intervals. So your youngest would be displayed at the bottom, and then your oldest would be displayed at the top. So here's what a population pyramid looks like. So here we can see we've got one of the United States. We've got our males displayed to the left. They're also color-coded in blue. And then we have our females to the right, which are color-coded in red. And so I can see this is showing me the percent of males, the percent of total males in the population, and the percent of total females in the population. And then they're grouped by these age cohorts. So I can see that a little less than 4% of my population are males between the ages of 0 and 4. And then same thing over here on my female side, right? A little less than 4% are females between the ages of 0 and 4. But then, and it's pretty consistent in here, right? But then as I start to get up into my older age cohorts, I can see that there are significantly more women. The percentage of women between the ages of 85 and up is higher than the percentage of males. And sorry guys, that's because women tend to live longer than men. Okay, here's another one. This one is showing me Lawrence, Kansas. If you're not familiar with Lawrence, Kansas, there's a large college there. So here I can see that between the ages of 15 and 24, we've got a significant spike in the number of males and females in that age cohort. So a lot of times population pyramids can tell us really what's going on in a particular area. And in here we can see these jut outs are a result of the college that's in Lawrence, Kansas. Here we've got Naples, Florida, and if you know anything about Naples, it is definitely a retirement destination. So full of old people, right? And that's not necessarily just a stereotype that's proven here in the statistics. So we can see that not a lot of like middle-aged people, not a lot of people starting families, but then when we get up here in our 55 plus category, the percent of males and females who are older is significantly higher. And then here we've got Laredo, Texas, and there are two different shapes, well, I guess three different shapes that I want to point out to you here. Here we've got like this vase shape, right? That's showing me pretty consistent population growth down here, because it's not like the population's increasing every single year, and then as people get older, sadly, they die. I've got here, which is my upside down pyramid. So here I can show that I'm not having a lot of population growth at all, because there are significantly more old people than there are young people. And then over here, I can see that my population is growing every single year, right? Because the number of 0 to 4-year-olds born in the past 4 years, right, is higher than the number of newborns that occurred 10 to 14 years ago. So population pyramids can really tell us a whole lot about what's going on in a place. We can also look at like historically population pyramids. So it's pretty interesting to look at population pyramids during time of war or famine, and to see the impact that those things have had on population. So I kind of described these different shapes earlier, but here we can see, right, this is a population pyramid representing Kenya. You can see there are lots and lots of population growth. More and more babies are being born every year. And then sadly, as you might be a developing country with not great access to health, you're seeing your population, most of your population is not making it to be very, very old. This shows us population stability, where pretty much the same number of babies are being born each year, all the way down here in my newborn category up to my 75 plus category. Here I can see population decline because I can see each year fewer and fewer babies are being born in Austria. And then disrupted growth, here I can see clearly something happened during this time period to cause such a reduction in the population, right? So I can see like lots of babies being born before and after whatever happened during this time period. Here's a population pyramid of Germany in 1989. So as I said before, really kind of cool that we can see the impact, well, cool but also sad, right? That we can see the impact of history on our population pyramids. So we can see a birth deficit that occurred during World War I. Usually during times of war, men are away, right? We don't tend to see population increases during time of war. Here again, we can see the same thing during World War II. We can see this post-war baby boom where men who are away in the war come home, and then you see an increase in the number of babies. So super, super interesting to look at the impact of history on our population pyramids. You can also notice that there are more women, again, in these older age cohorts than men. So next thing on your note sheet is the dependency ratio. This is defined as the number of people who are too young or too old to work compared to the number of people in their productive years in society. So people age 0 to 14 and over 65 years old are considered dependents. You are considered dependents of your parents because you don't work full time. You go to school, they pay for your clothes, they pay for your housing, they pay for your food. And then anyone over 65 years old who is deemed too old to work is also considered a dependent. So larger dependency ratios imply greater financial burden on the working class. In sub-Saharan Africa, we see dependency ratios of about 85%, while the dependency ratios in Europe are about 47%. So there's significantly more people who are dependent on the working class in sub-Saharan Africa than in Europe, and that really puts a stress and a strain on the working class because they need to pay enough taxes and pay enough into Social Security to guarantee a secure future. And then sex ratio is defined as the number of males per 100 females in the population. Developed countries have more females than males because, sorry guys, again, females tend to live 7 years longer than men. This is a map just showing us our sex ratio in the world. So where you see these purple countries, there are more women than men. Where you see blue, you see more men than women. And then where you see tan is about the same. And I think this is really interesting if you're like looking at different parts of the world and you're thinking about what you know about kind of gender roles and what you know about the role of women within society. And then you can kind of see where there are more women than there are men. Okay, so I've got just about a 5-minute video clip for you guys that is going to illustrate really all the different types of information that population pyramids can convey. Please just continue to jot down some notes as you watch.
Russia, with the largest territory in the world, has roughly the same total population as Nigeria, a country 1/16 its size. But this similarity won't last long. One of the populations is rapidly growing, while the other is slowly declining. What can this tell us about the two countries? Population statistics are some of the most important data social scientists and policy experts have to work with. But understanding a country's situation and making accurate predictions requires knowing not just the total size of the population, but its internal characteristics, such as age and gender distribution. So, how can we keep track of all that data in a way that makes it easy to comprehend? Complex data is more easily interpreted through visualization, and one of the ways that demographers represent the internal distribution of a population is the population pyramid. Here, the data is divided by gender, with females on one side and males on the other. The population numbers are shown for each 5-year age interval, starting from 0 to 4 and continuing up to 100 and up. These intervals are grouped together into pre-reproductive, 0 to 14, reproductive, 15 to 44, and post-reproductive years, 45 and up. Such a population pyramid can be a powerful predictor of future population trends. For example, Rwanda's population pyramid shows it to be a fast-growing country. With most of the population being in the youngest age groups at the bottom of the pyramid, the number will grow rapidly in the coming years. As today's children reach their reproductive years and have children of their own, the total population is almost certain to double within the next few decades. For our second example, let's look at Canada, where most of the population is clustered around the middle of the graph. Because there are less people in the pre-reproductive age groups than there are in the reproductive ones, the population will grow more slowly, as the number of people reaching their reproductive years decreases. Finally, let's look at Japan. Because the majority of its population is in its post-reproductive years, and the number of people is smaller at each younger interval, this means that at current rates of reproduction, the population will begin to decline as fewer and fewer people reach reproductive age. Comparing these three population pyramids side by side shows us three different stages in the demographic transition as a country moves from a pre-industrial society to one with an industrial or post-industrial economy. Countries that have only recently begun the process of industrialization typically see an increase in life expectancy and a fall in child mortality rates as a result of improvements in medicine, sanitation, and food supply, while birth rates remain constant, leading to a population boom. Developing countries that are farther along in the industrialization process begin to see a fall in birth rates due to factors such as increased education and opportunities for women outside of child-rearing, and a move from rural to urban living that makes having large families less economically advantageous. Finally, countries in advanced stages of industrialization reach a point where both birth and death rates are low, and the population remains stable or even begins to decline. Now let's take a look at the projected population pyramids for the same three countries in 2050. What do these tell us about the expected changes in each country's population? And what kinds of factors can alter the shape of these future pyramids? A population pyramid can be useful not only as a predictor of a country's future, but as a record of its past. Russia's population pyramid still bears the scars of World War II, which explains both the fewer numbers of elderly men compared to elderly women, and the relatively sudden population increase as soldiers returned from the war and normal life resumed. China's population pyramid reflects the establishment of the one-child policy 35 years before, which prevented a population boom such as that of Rwanda, but also led to sex-selective abortions, resulting in more male children than female children. Finally, the pyramid for the United States shows the baby boom that followed World War II. As you can see, population pyramids tell us far more about a country than just a set of numbers, by showing both where it's been and where it's headed within a single image. And in today's increasingly interconnected world facing issues such as food shortages, ecological threats, and economic disparities, it is increasingly important for both scientists and policymakers to have a rich and complex understanding of populations and the factors affecting them.
Okay, so here's what you're going to do next. You are going to use the information provided to create a population pyramid for Canada and Bolivia, and then you're going to answer the questions that go along with it. So, if we take a look here, this is your blank population pyramid. So I want you to use, I've got colored pencils or markers that you can use, or you can use pen versus pencil. It doesn't really matter to me. But you're going to go through and using the data that is provided, you are going to start creating your population pyramid. So I can see my first age cohort here, right, 0 to 4. 5.3% are male and 4.9% are female. So if I were to do Canada, I would come here and in my 0 to 4 age cohort, I would just kind of shade that in, right? And I'm going to make myself a bar graph until I have completed my population pyramid. And remember, it might not be, right, that perfect pyramid shape because the shape tells us a little bit about the country. So you have, and then when you're done, you are going to answer the questions that are right on top. So you have a couple different groups that you've been working with. You've had your families, you've had your colleagues. So now today, I'm going to give you the opportunity to work with your friends. And your friend's going to be your third group that we're going to be revisiting this year. So for today, you're just going to pick one friend. One of you is going to do Canada, one of you is going to do Bolivia. You're going to create your population pyramids, and then together you are going to answer the questions that are on the handout. Now you should have plenty of time to complete this, and if you don't finish it up, then you will need to finish that up before class on Monday. Okay, wonderful students, the rest of the time is yours. Please make sure that you are using your time wisely and be working on reading guide and vocab over the weekend.